Hey Gator fans, so the news is broke over the last couple of days that John Sumrall is going to be leaving the Tulane Green Wave after he coaches them in the American Conference title game against North Texas, who, by the way, their head coach is taking the opening job at Oklahoma State. After he gets done with his game, win or lose on Friday, he'll be coaching the guys up in Gainesville afterwards. He'll start his tenure in Gainesville after the season is over. It is noted that he is going to hire Brad White to be Florida's defensive coordinator. Quick resume read on John Sumrall is that he played for the University of Kentucky as a linebacker from 2002 to 2004. He was the not San Diego State, but the University of San Diego defensive line coach from 2007 to 2009, and then they elevated him to assistant head coach in 2010 to 2002 through 2011. Then he became the Green Wave co-defense coordinator, defensive line coach from 2012 to 2013, and then they moved him to the linebacker position coach for 2014 while he was still keeping his co-defensive coordinator duties. Then he goes to Troy in 2015, stays there till 2017 to be their assistant head coach along with their linebackers coach, and apparently he did work with them on special teams as well. Then he goes to Kentucky. With Kentucky, he's their Ole Miss becomes their linebackers coach in 2018. Sorry, I jumped ahead there. And then became the Kentucky linebacker coach in 2019 through 20. Became their inside linebackers. It was still their inside linebackers coach in 2021, but then took co-defensive coordinator duties for that season. Then he became the head coach for Troy in 2022. Had a 23-4 record. Becomes the head coach at Tulane. Had a 19-7 record. By the way, it's report noting that before he accepted the job at Florida, Tulane said that Tulane offered him a contract extension that was going to bump him up to $4 million per year to remain as the head coach of the Green Wave. Florida, as expected, being an SEC school, was able to offer him a $7.5 million deal per annual to be the head coach at Florida. And obviously that's going to leave some room to bring in some very good staff members, assistants, coordinators, that sort of thing. I'm particularly more concerned about who he hires for strength and conditioning. If you're a Florida Gator fan, you may know of a woman by the name of Allie Peak Wilbur, who covers the Florida Gators far longer than almost anybody that covers Florida Gator football on YouTube. And she said that because she's also married to a Florida Gator alum, Eric Wilbur, that your most important hire for a head coach in college football is not the coordinators, it's your strength and conditioning. So while I'll give my opinions on Brad White in a minute, I want to know who is going to be his strength and conditioning coach, because that's more important. But overall, at Troy and Tulane, at those two places combined, he had a 42-11 record. Now that's a couple of wins and a defeat less than, a couple of victories more and one loss less than Billy Napier at Louisiana. When Billy Napier was there, had a 40-12 record. This guy Sumrall is coming in with a 42-11 record, so it's a little bit better. Brad White was the defensive coordinator at Kentucky for the previous 7 seasons before coming to Florida. Played at Wake Forest, and in 6 of those 7 seasons at Kentucky, they were top 45 in terms of yards allowed, which may not sound that great, top 45, but considering what Florida has been defensively practically throughout this decade, that would be a major improvement for them. And this year, I will say Florida's defense, maybe not great, but certainly good enough to win more games than what they won this past season. So you're bringing in a guy who has SEC experience to your defensive coordinator position, and he was the defensive coordinator for multiple years, so he's going to come in and understand his role, and you're able to hit the ground running because you don't have to teach him new responsibilities of being coordinator. You don't have to he knows what it's like to compete and develop a game plan against SEC teams due to his experience at Kentucky. So I actually like that hire of Brad White from the defensive coordinator position. But like I said, I want to know who's his strength and conditioning coach is going to be. In terms of Sumrall, look, it could work. I said this in my YouTube short when I said Scott Strickland needs to go. It could work out. It could not work out. I don't think it's fair for us as Gator fans to hold Billy Napier's shortcomings to John Sumrall, because these are two different people with two different plans, two different coaching staffs, and two different mentalities. And if you see John Sumrall in his media interviews and his mannerisms during the game, he seems to be a more intense football coach than Billy Napier was. Billy Napier was very shucks, very low, didn't emote very much, very not too emotionally high strung, which could be good in some areas, but overall you do need some fire to come from your head coach, and I don't think Florida got that enough from Billy Napier when it needed to be. It was just like sometimes you have to look at Billy Napier to see if he even had a pulse. And with John Sumrall, you don't need to. He's going to come in with an intensity and a fire that you don't see a lot of coaches with. So that is one difference between Sumrall and Billy Napier that I can say will be different. Now, to be honest, all the skepticism, it's well earned. And it's mainly due to Scott Strickland more than it is about John Sumrall, because I don't think there's a Florida Gator fan alive right now should trust anything that Scott Strickland says or does. And this is definitely his final coaching hire. He's not going to get another chance to hire another football head coach if this does not work out. He's going to be gone before John Sumrall is. I believe that. If John Sumrall is going to get fired, Strickland will be fired first. Strickland will be fired first, and then Sumrall is going to be gone. I don't want to hear anything about presidents or per Bud Elliott of Knowles Cast that Florida apparently doesn't have a dean for their medical school and law school, and that they don't have a president, so it'd probably not be good to look for a new athletic director. I don't want to hear any of that, because LSU doesn't have a team president, and they had no problem firing their head coach and their athletic director. They actually parted ways with both of them. So if LSU can do it, Florida, there's no excuse. Now, having said all that, John Sumrall needs to, in my opinion, bring in a competition at the quarterback position for DJ Lagway. What I want him to do, I do not want another year where DJ Lagway is the early appointed starting quarterback. No, I don't want that. I want DJ Lagway to have to compete throughout the offseason against Tramel Jones or whatever quarterback Sumrall wants to bring in from the transfer portal, and have those guys battle it out for that position, because I think the problem with DJ is because he knows that he's the darling of Florida Gator football, even though he hasn't really played like it. He kind of tries to make these cool off-platform throws to get highlights instead of just playing regular football, setting his feet, working on his mechanics, and delivering accurate footballs. Because a lot of he's not really inaccurate. He's just that he doesn't balance his feet. He doesn't go through the typical quarterback form of how you see they throw the football. You just see a guy that's trying to make highlights instead of just trying to make the right plays. And I think that's been his problem. And I think that's the reason why he struggled as much as he did. That's the reason why his deep balls were not as accurate as they were. When his feet were set, he had no problem delivering it. But when his feet were not set and he was trying to throw off platform, you saw the struggles that he had. And I just think he needs to work on that. Another thing that needs to be worked on is who's going to be the offensive line coach. This Florida offensive line did not play up to its potential this year. And I also believe that not only did Rob Sale disappoint UF fans by the lack of progression, even though he had all those veterans coming back, the recruiting, while it got a little bit better towards the end of the Billy Napier tenure, it was not at the level that you need to recruit at the offensive line position in the SEC. So quarterback competition, offensive line are the two biggest areas of improvement on the offensive side of the ball. In terms of defensively, The pass rush needs to improve. The pass rush did not do what it needed to do. You have a nice edge rusher in Jaden Woods. I like what I see from him. Even Mekhi Burrows started to play a little bit better from the defensive tackle position. But who else? All the other defensive ends didn't really live up to their potential, did not live up to the hype this year. Offensive line play, DJ Lagway's mechanics, pass rush, that needs to be improved. And also, how much better is the special teams going to be? Under Billy Gonzalez, I don't remember one issue Florida had on special teams, but with Billy Napier, you couldn't go 2 weeks without there being a problem. So, what are they going to fix on the special teams aspect of the football team? That's what is an important question. I think it needs to be answered for Florida fans. So those are the 5 areas that I'm concerned about. I also want to know how good of a recruiter John Sumrall is. I know one Tulane commit at the offensive line position flipped to Florida once he found out that he was going to go to Florida. Now, what I do like about John Sumrall is that he told the Tulane commits, sign with Tulane. Don't follow me to Florida. Sign with Tulane, stay there, help out their new head coach, whoever it's going to be. I do like that because I think that shows integrity and I think that shows a competitiveness. No, I'm not going to steal all the recruits that I just had lined up for this team and bring them over to Florida. I'm going to tell you guys to stay over there and I'm going to go build my own. That tells me that this guy loves competition and he doesn't want it easy. He wants it to be difficult, so that way it forces him to get better and it forces him to challenge himself. I like that as a head coach, and hopefully that mentality is going to spread throughout the rest of this team. So, in my opinion, I like what I see so far, but I need way more. I need to see him I need to see some foundational improvements with this football team in 2026 before I can have an opinion on whether or not I think this is going to work out or not. Because, like I said, anything Scott Strickland touches, it can go from gold to chicken, you know what. And he does not deserve the benefit of the doubt right now. Maybe John Sumrall does, but not Scott Strickland. So that's the way I feel about it. And in this next video, I'm going to be talking about where the state of Florida lines up head coaching wise among the Power Four with Florida, our rivals, Florida State, Miami, and our basement dwellers, UCF.